You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 276. Do you live to work or work to live? If you're a business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies to improve time management, elevate productivity, to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you joined me today. We're going to be diving into the topic of planning your schedule so it accommodates the different seasons of your life, so you can intentionally create greater work-life balance. And now, let's get to the straight talk. If I asked you, do you live to work or work to live? You'd probably answer that you work to live. But let's be honest. Does your schedule support that? I'm a business owner myself, and I know there are plenty of times where I have to put my head down, push the pedal to the metal, and work long and hard to push through the finish line of a big project or an important deadline. We can't go full throttle all the time, though. Otherwise, we'd be sacrificing our relationships, our passions, and other interests that are outside of our businesses. That can't be your reality every day, every week, and every season. That would be a one-way ticket to absolute burnout, and I do not want that for you. The one-way ticket to burnout may look and feel like missing family events, feeling squeezed out of time to do something that was thoughtful for your loved ones or for their birthday or for their anniversary or a holiday. Feeling the guilt of spending time doing things that are outside of your business. Let's be honest, how often do you feel guilty when you're doing something and you're thinking, I should be working? Perhaps you feel pulled in totally different directions. You feel pulled to support somebody in your personal life or to go to a fun event or a family event or go on a vacation. But you're also being pulled to answer your phone for clients, meet with a client after hours, on the weekends, to do the work that you can feel like you never can get to during a normal business work week. Perhaps you're just simply feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, exhausted. You can't focus. Or there's this nagging little undertone of, I feel so out of balance. But what if I could tell you that it doesn't need to be that way? That you can set intentions for each season of your life to create a greater sense of balance and increase your fulfillment beyond just running your business, beyond running a successful business. And I'm here to tell you that is absolutely true. But you have to see it for yourself. You have to want it. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a very simple and effective strategy to bring more balance into your work and your life. To not feel as torn between your work and your personal interests. And that strategy is the invitation of seeing your life in seasons. And this is really important. Seasons are incredibly natural. We see seasons in our weather. We see seasons in our sporting events. There are different seasons all around us. And specifically, I'm talking about the seasons of the natural ebbs and flow of your personal life and the seasons of your business, and acknowledging that every day is not the same as yesterday. And this month might not be the same as last month, and certainly isn't going to be the same as 6 months from now. So what does that look like if you take a step back from your day to day, or even your week to week, and look at your business from a higher view as in the whole year, what types of seasons do you naturally experience? You see, each year, for me, my seasons tend to fall into 3 categories. The first category is school's in session, which is generally end of August, September to May. And then I have the school is out of season, which is our summertime. And then we also have holiday season, which brings its own ebbs and flows to our schedules, right? Those are the big seasons for me in this time of my life on the personal side. But your seasons could look incredibly different. Your seasons could be the seasonality of your business. Are there seasons where you are busier and seasons that you are typically slower? Do you have kids being in or out of school like myself? Perhaps your seasons are influenced by the actual seasons of the year. You might see a difference in the way that you show up in your business in the winter time when days are shorter versus how you show up in your business when the days feel longer, right? How about the seasons of someone that you love, like your spouse or your partner, that they have seasons that they're working more or less? And if they're working more, does that require you to like pull back a bit and be more present on the personal side to handle your personal life? And you definitely play seasonal sports, right? Like your kids play seasonal sports. Maybe even you are playing seasonal sports. Or perhaps it's just about watching seasonal sports, right? My house is really different on the weekends when it's football season versus not football season. My husband is a huge fan. And so those are natural seasons that I know are coming every year, which is football season. What if your seasons are around training for an event? Like you're in a season of training for a marathon or a dance competition. See, these all make a difference, except for we generally look at our schedule as if it should be the same day in and day out. What if you're choosing to take a class at the university? That is going to change your schedule as well. All of these things add up to a full life. But what's the experience you want to have as you go in and out of those different seasons? That is really important because when we deny that we have these natural seasons in our life and our business, and we don't acknowledge that they do have an impact and influence our schedule, when we deny it, it creates a lot of stress because we're not working with it or we're not working for it. And what I want most for each of you is to truly live what you would consider for yourself your fullest life. And that is not just how you're showing up as a business owner, but also how you're showing up in other areas of your life that matter most to you. For example, if you live in an area where it's absolutely freezing cold most of the year, perhaps plan time off or plan to work shorter days during the few months you have the nicer weather, because you don't want to be stuck at your desk or in meetings all day when you may really be tempted and wanting to enjoy the sun being out and the weather that is so little bit of a time of the year. Otherwise, you'll be just tempting fate and you will regret filling up your business calendar during those months of beautiful weather. That is a season that is most definitely predictable. And if you took pause to ask yourself, what do you want to experience during those few months that the weather's amazing, you can plan for it. Next, let's say that your kids are home from college for 2 weeks during December. What if you were able to plan for that? What if you were able to look at that time and say, this is such a season, like even a season of 2 weeks, but the season is my kids are home and I'm going to make the absolute most of it. To do that, you really need to be purposeful with not overloading yourself, overcommitting to projects, or perhaps not aligning a promotional campaign, or saying yes to demanding deadlines, or overscheduling your calendar during those 2 weeks. By stepping back and planning way ahead of time and not just day to day or week to week, you could really make the most of that time. All right. So those are just 2 little examples, but these examples are all around us. And I want you to think of the times that you are feeling pulled in one direction or the other, that you didn't think about reducing your schedule and you were working with your head down and you didn't get to grab that opportunity to really be present in another area of your life. I also see this with clients. One really recent example that comes to mind is that I have a client that had 2 back-to-back commitments of some pretty large volunteer projects. And these volunteer projects and the roles that she had were really close and dear to her heart and actually filled up her heart so long as she didn't feel torn and guilty that she was missing work, that she wasn't showing up the way that she needed to be showing up in the business. And by reframing that and understanding that that may be the most productive use of her time because that aligns with some of her personal goals, she was able to take a step back and adjust what her expectations were of herself in her business during those times, so that she could fully show up in these roles, these volunteering roles, but also meet the expectations of her clients and deadlines that were needed, because she planned ahead knowing that she needed to take a step back in some of the hours that she was working in the business. You've got to create the schedule you want to live, and that demands taking the seasons of your life into account. Our personal lives and activities naturally ebb and flow. And so you can't expect for your business schedule not to as well. And let's be honest here, you are a business owner, so you truly, truly have the luxury of creating your own schedule. In fact, that might be one of the reasons why you decided to get into business for yourself. And yet, I often find that that's one of the first luxuries that we let go in pursuit of running a successful, quote unquote, successful business. And it does not need to be that way. Why would you not want to take full advantage and create your schedule by design so that it can accommodate the life you want to live? Because if you do not proactively plan for those inevitable seasons of your life, you will find yourself in a negative place and wind up sabotaging yourself, sabotaging your success, sabotaging your business, sabotaging relationships that really matter to you. Planning to work less is a much, much more powerful place to be in than telling yourself that you're going to work XYZ hours and not doing so. Or doing so with your mind elsewhere so that you're not fully focused on your work, but rather everything else you could be doing that you should have planned on doing but failed to. When you plan your seasonal schedules with intentionality, you make different decisions so it doesn't hurt your business that you're working less. So you may be thinking, well, what decisions might those be? What decisions can I impact or do differently that could help me live a more balanced work-life balance, that would allow me to change up my schedule to accommodate these seasons that bring me joy? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to share with you a few examples that come to mind. And these examples are questions that you can question yourself. Like, you're going to ask yourself these questions, and the answers that you come to may be the answers that will help you move towards being able to not just create a schedule that supports your seasons, but honor that schedule. So the first question that comes to mind is, to honor that season that you're thinking of, could you reduce your work week? Could you reduce your work day? Some of my clients have gone to a 4-day work week, so 4 10s, and take Fridays off. And they do that specifically around the summertime, right? So they would love to have a 3-day weekend all summer, so they change the schedule. Others have decided that they're just going to take 1 day off a week. So they might be working 8 hours Monday through Thursday, and they decide that they're taking Fridays off and they're condensing their work schedule. I've had others offer an A-B schedule to their teams. So each team member is on a different A-B schedule so that the office isn't actually closed, say on a Friday, that they can get alternating Fridays off during the summer. For example, the summer. The summer seems to be the time that people want to work a bit less. So for these examples, that's what we're talking about. So when you're thinking of your schedule and you're like, yeah, it would be great to have a 4-day week, but like, what about my team members? Well, perhaps you can offer them the same 4 10-hour days. Perhaps you can offer them an every other week Friday off for the 10 weeks that summer is. What if to honor a particular season in your business that you decided you were going to start your day later or end it a bit earlier? So for me, I end my days earlier in school season at 3 o'clock so that I can go pick my son up. However, depending on what sports he's playing, I might work a little bit later because he's got practice after school. So I do not need to be off by 3 o'clock. And in the summer, my preference is to work longer days, but fewer days so that I can have a 3 or a 4-day weekend. What if it would be helpful to look at your schedule and say, I'm going to take a longer lunch? So maybe your season right now is that you have loved ones that you care for that you need to take to doctor's appointments. And those doctor's appointments at face value are like, oh my gosh, that's like 2 hours out of my day. But perhaps you can work a normal work day and just decide that you're going to take an extra long lunch break so that you can live and be present in the season of your life where you're taking care of a loved one, but also consistently showing up to work and those responsibilities. Perhaps your ideal seasons and honoring the seasons in your schedule might look like taking several weeks off or potentially a month off. I have a client right now that is planning to take a month off to go to Europe this summer. I have another client that took a sabbatical for over a month last summer. Both of those month-long trips are taking preparation, and it's taking decision-making today for that to be true in 3 months or 4 months from now, that the business can run successfully while they're on extended vacations. What if you could say no to a new client or project that does not align with your availability during that season? Oftentimes, when we're looking at taking on another client, we're strictly looking at, is there open space? And maybe you're not even consulting your schedule at all. You're saying someone wants to work with me, and that's an automatic yes with no consideration of your personal bandwidth in this season. What about reducing the number of working on your business projects? So for me, I am working on my business projects far more within the school year, right, than I am in the summer. In fact, the way I can take so much time off in the summer is I often pull back on those elective work on your business projects, and I'm really just focusing on the things that are the highest value, which is serving my clients and maintaining the marketing strategies that we currently have. But I'm not starting something new. I'm not digging into a project that adds additional hours to my workload each week. Next, could you change up where you work? This is a great one. Your normal might be, I go to the office, like that's what I do. I work with my team. But what if you wanted to work remotely while traveling? What if that was actually ideal for you to say, I'm in the office 3 weeks of the month, and 1 month of the month, I work remotely. Or perhaps to help your season of your life, that you work 1 day from home and 4 days in the office. You see, you can create the rules. You just have to imagine what it is you want and start working towards that and creating that and making it possible. Next, do you need to hire additional support? Do you need additional support for a particular busy season in your business, right? So we're talking about seasons where we may want to slow down and we might not want to, drop down in the business and rev up in our personal lives, but this goes back and forth. Does the season of your business mean you do need additional support? Because if you're not looking at that as like, oh yes, we are always busy this 6 months of the year, then you're just going to take on that extra workload, and that time has to come from somewhere. Could you create business systems for increased efficiency so that you can reduce the number of hours you work while also maintaining your results, your effectiveness? To honor the seasons of your business and your life, perhaps it's going to require creating and holding boundaries. Creating and holding boundaries with your clients, creating and holding boundaries with your team members, and most certainly creating and holding boundaries with yourself. Because while I'm telling you and giving you and inviting you with permission to create your own schedule to honor the seasons of your business and your life, that's the first step. The second step is actually walking that out, living that out, honoring those boundaries and those commitments that you've made to yourself. Perhaps to make it possible to really live out the schedule that you desire, you need to learn the skill set of time management. I have said it. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times here at Productivity Straight Talk. Time management is a skill set that can be learned. And when you don't have that skill set or you're not utilizing that skill set, there's most certainly a lot of wasted time and efficient time. And so if you're already at the point where you're like, well, there's no time to take time off, I'm here to tell you that if you can learn the skill sets of time management, there is found time. And that found time can be reinvested in yourself. It can be reinvested in just additional sleep, a loved one, a hobby, volunteering, or it could be reinvested in your business to get greater results. How about asking yourself if you can automate any processes in your business so that you can work less and get greater results? You don't have to work as hard. You get to work smarter by leveraging automation processes. I would love for you to ask yourself, if I could take time off each week, call it 2 hours to go to a dance class, could I do that if I was just a bit more organized in my physical space? Meaning I'm not wasting time looking for lost things or feeling overwhelmed with stacks of paper all around you. That your digital files on your computer or your network are organized so you and your team can find what is needed. These are all opportunities to make tweaks and improvements so that you can reinvest this time in truly what matters most to you. The possibilities are endless, and as a business owner, you have the freedom and flexibility to make a combination of all of these your reality should you choose. For me, living out the natural seasons of my life and trying to look ahead to think about how I want to experience that was an absolute game changer. When I started looking at my schedule as not just what can I get done and how much more can I get in my schedule, but really what does that schedule that I'm looking at often create as a feeling for me? And I'm also asking myself, what do I want to feel and experience in each large chunk of seasons? And then I change up my schedule for that. So for me, in the summertime, my son will be 13 in 3 weeks. And for as many years as he's been in school, summers have been so important to us as a family because it is go, go, go during the school year. We're all working, there's sports, there's the school schedule, there's a lot of responsibilities. And so as a family, we've been able to honor the summertime as a more slow down time. And so for right now, this summer, so I'm recording this in April, we started planning on my calendar as far back as end of February, March to make it possible that I go to a 3-day work week. So I'll be taking Mondays and Fridays off throughout the summer. My husband also in the previous 3 or 4 summers has taken the entire summer off. And this summer, he's going to just go down to a reduced work schedule. And then we are also planning some family vacations. This planning ahead of time is influencing the decisions that I'm making now. Like asking myself, well, what projects need to get done now to be able to support the business through the summer, i.e. marketing projects or planning or strategy or training. All of those need to be considered now. Also, before I knew it was possible, I blocked those days off on my calendar just a couple weeks ago so that we could start working within the 3-day work week boundaries to see if it was possible to maintain all the current commitments that I have and what would that look and feel like. So the why that really pulls me to working differently in my business is that I only have so many summers with my son. And I happen to love the summers. It's the happiest time of the year for me. I love the sun. I love the long days. I love the energy of summer. And so for me, because I know summer's coming and I know what that's going to look like, I'm generally got my head down and working incredibly hard in the other 9 months of the year. So there is no guilt and my business does not waver and my business is prepared for it so that not just maintaining, but possibly even growing during those times. We often in past years have made different decisions about the programming that happens on Productivity Straight Talk during the summer because the podcast takes a lot of time and energy, huge commitment in the business. And so sometimes I have cut back, sometimes I've revved up and batched. We've played with a lot of different things. But of course, that was all through the lens of how does the business stay supported while I can honor a reduced work week? At the beginning of this episode, I asked, do you live to work or work to live? And you might want to work to live, but take a look at your schedule. Does it support that? Are you taking the different seasons of your life into consideration when you're planning 3 months, 6 months, 1 year into the future? If not, it's time to start today. You can literally do this at any moment. The day you're listening to this episode, you can start by asking yourself, what are the natural seasons I have? What is the experience that I want to have? And what does that schedule need to look like to have and support that experience? Take action and plan your work schedule so that it aligns with your life you want to live outside of your business while still taking action on your business goals. I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and I sure hope you found it to be insightful and a bit thought-provoking about how you can be in control of your schedule to create the work-life balance you desire. But I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So what action will you take from today? Well, I think the very first step after today's episode is going to be to set some time aside to ask yourself the question, what experience do I want to have in this season? Or what experience do I want to have next season? And then if you want to take the next step, it will be to ask yourself, what do you need to do to make that schedule possible? If you would like coaching, training, and support to create a schedule that supports greater work-life balance, then I would love to work with you. There are 2 ways that we can work together. The first is my private peak performance coaching program, and the second is my Leverage Lab program. To learn more, you can head on over to amberdelagarza.com/work-with-me. Again, that's amberdelagarza.com/work-with-me. And before we close out, I just want to remind you to make sure that you subscribe wherever you're listening to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk. And today I have a special thank you going out to Paige B Podcasting, who recently said, "Such a great show for anyone who is busy and trying to be more efficient. I love the guests that Amber brings on. I learned something helpful in every episode. Highly recommended." Thank you, Paige, for leaving me a review on iTunes. If you too are enjoying Productivity Straight Talk, I would ask you the favor. Can you leave me a review? Let me know what you are getting from each and every episode of Productivity Straight Talk. It's not just helpful for me because I love to see the impact this podcast has, but it's helpful for others who are exploring to see if the podcast is a right fit for them. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.